And now for the best dive site in the Komodo National Park, Castle Rock, sitting just at the north side of Komodo Island and of Gili Laut, is a seamount with an amazing amount of life, lots of sharks, lots of big pelagic fish out here. We've seen dolphins, we've seen sailfish, really one of our favorite dive sites. Let's bring up the dive map and we'll talk you through it. All right, Castle Rock, our favorite dive site in all of the Komodo National Park. Probably the most exciting, exhilarating dive site around and filled with life. So the way that we will dive Castle Rock, again, depends on the current. We can dive it with either a falling tide, a rising tide, or a slack tide, and all three can actually be exceptional diving experiences. If I have my choice, I would like to dive it on a rising tide, which means getting in on the east side over here and the current pushing this direction. But again, if you're diving on a falling tide, you can do the same thing and get in on this side with the current pushing in this direction. Again, that's generally in these directions. So let's take it if we're diving on a rising tide and we're going to get in on the east side. Again, depending on how strong the current is, we're going to be looking at the dive site as we pull up in the tender boats, and we're going to be motoring out a ways and probably have somebody in the water checking to see what the conditions are like and how strong that current is, and that'll determine how far out we actually jump in. Again, more than likely a negative entry, letting all the air out of your BCD, doing a good check, making sure your mask is ready, making sure you've done a good buddy check. So when you do roll into the water, you're ready to start your descent. Once we hit the water, again, just start to go straight down. It doesn't need to be a crazy panicked swim down, but just start to go down immediately and start to swim pretty much away from the dive site and let that current kind of pull you in to the reef. This whole side of Castle Rock is basically a sloping reef. Years ago, we used to think that we needed to get down deeper to see the large gray reef sharks, but down on this side, on the east side, we actually get in at about less than 25 meters, and we hang out right at the point, again, trying to look for the point where the current splits around the seamount, where that's where the most activity is, and we hang out right there and kind of watch the show. You see massive schools of fusilier eating the nutrients. You see big schools of surgeonfish. You see giant trevallies. You see big-eyed jacks. You see dog-toothed tuna. On occasion, you might see dolphins. You see sharks, lots of white-tipped sharks swimming up and around the shallow reef area. And then you also see the big gray reef sharks swimming around. Really spectacular show, spectacular dive site. So many fish. When the giant trevallies make a move to actually, when they're hunting and they try to eat a fish, you hear the massive school of fish move, this loud kind of swoosh kind of noise as they move around. Very, very exciting, exhilarating dive site. So again, try to hang out in this area as long as we can. Once we decide, and keeping a close eye on your air, once we decide to start making our way to the the west side of the island, then we'll slowly go reef on the left typically. For me, that's my preference. I like this side of the dive site, the north side. And then come along this area, again following big schools of fish, looking out in the blue pretty much the whole time. You do see the sweet lips and lots of other reef fish along the way, and then come along this way. Once you're on the backside here, then you're going to come up and start to do your safety stop behind the rock. This can be a little bit tricky because off to the sides you get some down current at times that you need to watch out for, but keep an eye on your guides. They'll kind of guide you through this, and then once your safety stop is done, then you'll start to come up and probably get caught in the current and just kind of get blown out to this direction. So taking a look at some of the pictures we have here. Big dog-toothed tuna, and you can see all the fish here in the background. Some dolphins, again. Always cool to see dolphins in the water. Big giant trevallies here. Okay. Table corals. Again, dogtooth tuna. And the surgeonfish. So many surgeonfish sometimes that you can barely see divers on the other side of these big schools. And all of these fish back here in the blue, these are all fusiliers, and then these are all giant trevallies. And then these look like different kinds of jacks here, Napoleon wrasse. Yeah, just more schools of fish, fusiliers. Those look like rainbow runners, white-tipped sharks in here. And that is about it. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, again, surgeonfish and big sea fans. So, #1 dive site in all of Komodo, Castle Rock.